Welcome to Tower Gardening Made Easy, and I'm Sherry. If you're new here, thank you so much for coming by, and be sure to tap that button below and continue to grow our community. So today, as you can see, we've got some shrooms on tap, so stand by. Hi, welcome back. Well, as you can see, I have two fruiting blocks that are shiitake mushrooms, and they were just pulled out of the Martha tent, and it's time to harvest them. But before we go there, I just want to give you a little bit of an update as to what happened to the mushrooms. So as you know, we moved, and we moved the towers from the smaller room that was over there into this bigger room to give us more space. But in the interim, what happened is that the mushroom tent did not like all this light. They only require a little bit of light, kind of like a reading light, and a temperature that's controlled. All right, they like humidity too. So I had them in this room with the towers as an experiment, but there were two fruiting blocks in there, and one was a newer one, and it did not like it. And this was a fruiting block that was an oyster, and oysters are very beginner mushroom to grow. So it gave me very little fruit. So I just knew that this was not going to work for them. So I took them out, put them in the other room with just a little bit of a overhead light, recessed light, and they're super happy. So I've been able to go ahead and grow some oysters. I just harvested some Black Kings. They were doing fantastic. And as you can see from this yield of the shiitake, which is a more intermediate to advanced mushroom, they really like their new home. So what I want to do today is I want to go ahead and harvest these, put them in here, and then I'm going to teach you a little trick on how to store your mushrooms. So let's get going. So first things first, one thing that I have learned about mushrooms and dealing with the fruiting blocks in the tent is that you need to be completely sterile. I used to kind of put my hands on the blocks, and that's a no-no. They really don't want you to do that because it will contaminate them and they will start to grow mold. So I've gotten very, very good about my hygiene around the fruiting blocks. So I now wear a plastic glove, and I use alcohol. So let me get these on first. You want to preserve your fruiting blocks for as long as you possibly can to get maximum yield out of them. In shiitakes, you should be able to get 2 crops. So I'm going to go ahead and just spray my gloves. Give them a little bit of white. Now I'm going to spray the inside of this container. Just give it a little bit of white. Clean any spores that could be in here. This is what I've learned. Super, super clean. So let's start with this one. So this fruiting block, believe it or not, I found at a, by chance, I went north and I stumbled into this inside farmer's market in Wayland. And there was a company that was there and they had a bunch of fruiting blocks. So I said, why not? They were inexpensive. And I normally use the Norse spore, which as you can see, it has a much more developed fruit on them than this one. But you know, sometimes you just have to try and see whether or not it's going to work. They did give me a nice little bit of yield, but I will say that this top part, I had to spray it with just a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. So I'm going to go ahead and just start poking off some of the shiitakes. Now this is my favorite mushroom, one of them, I should say. I would say shiitake is number 1 and chestnut is number 2. And I have some chestnuts that are growing. So these guys got really big. So I would say these are about the same size as Norse spore. And this is the first crop for these guys. Just gently pulling them off the substrate. And again, my hands are nice and clean, so I don't have to worry about contaminating for the second crop. And the water just turned off, so it's a little more quiet. So these guys are little buggers. So the other thing that I've learned is that when you're pulling these guys off the substrate and you're not going to eat them right away, it's best not to wash them. So we'll just gently pull them off. And this is a lot. This is a lot of food right here. So, and as you can see, that's a lot. That's just one fruiting block. So we're going to go ahead and wrap that in a second. But let's get these guys. There's a lot on here too. I do. I love these. I put them in everything, over burgers, in stir fries. Um, I do omelets with them. I am not a vegan or a vegetarian, so I just put them on all kinds of stuff. I think with the shiitakes, I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do maybe some marsala. I think that's how you pronounce it. Some marsala chicken. So some of the Norse spore substrate is kind of coming off in chunks. So we want to preserve that as much as possible so I can rewrap this and get a second crop out of it. Little buggers. So you can kind of see there's some holes in here. That's not very good, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. Get these off the substrate. Just pull them. And this guy, when I got it, it had already started to pin. So there's a whole process with shiitakes that you need to cold shock it for about 48 hours and then soak it before you put it into the Martha tent or the table chamber that they have. But they were already pinned, so I kind of skipped that step, threw them right into the Martha tent and said, they're ready to go. This is a ton of food. So I may have to bring some up on Thursday to the gym and give some to some people because this is a lot. But boy, I do love joy, and I really enjoy growing them. It's so fun. They grow so fast, much more than obviously the towers. So somebody was really cute. I was sharing some of my mushroom stories on a group that I'm in, and somebody said, "How do you grow mushrooms on a tower?" And I'm like, "You don't." But I led them to Norse spore so they can get started because they really love mushrooms. I said, yeah, you got to grow your own. Once you grow your own, there's no going back. The taste is so much different than the grocery store box stuff. And I'm going to do a video on produce coming from the grocery store versus what's on these towers, especially the cucumbers, because the wax that you get that's on the grocery store there's so much. And compared to what's, obviously there's nothing on the tower. The cucumbers on the tower they're sweet. They don't have like that no taste, just kind of like a heavy watery taste to them when you get them from the grocery store. But on the tower, they're really sweet. So there's just a few little button things down here, so I'm not really going to worry about those. So as you can see, this is a huge yield, like really big. So I'm super psyched about this. All right, so we're going to put these aside for a quick second. And I'm going to divide these into a couple bags. So mushrooms obviously they grow with moisture and humidity. And most people will, cover them with a cellophane or plastic bags and stick them in the fridge. And they don't like that because they get really gooey and moist and they go bad. So the best way to store them is honestly in the old-fashioned lunchbox bag that we use for school. I'm dating myself. But if you don't have these, you can use a store-bought bag and then just cut off the top. So just one is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill the bag with some shrooms. And again, I'm not going to wash these until I'm ready to use them. There's even some substrate that's on the bottom. That's okay. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. So I'll probably divide these into 2 bags because there's just so many of them. Anybody, if you live by in Newport, give me a holler. Happy to deliver some. I mean, look at that. That's where it filled up to. So let's do another one. And I still have some black kings that I actually made a chicken soup today, and I actually cut up some of the black kings and put them in there. The properties on these mushrooms, they're just so good for you. They're so good for your health. Some of them even, like I think it's limonene and reiki. They have properties to, if you are going through cancer treatment, to help you. It's not going to cure you, but it's still going to help you. And if you know of anybody who has a little bit of dementia going on, those are known to help with memory. So you can go on Amazon and actually buy supplements with lion mane in it, but why not just grow your own and know where the source came from? So, okay, so I've got them into 2 bags. So basically all you do is just fold them down like that. Do not put these in the vegetable crisper in the fridge. Just put them in a regular area next to, your sodas, if you drink soda, or, waters, whatever, whatever just the main part of your fridge is where you want to keep these. And then just keep them covered and maybe put the date of when you put them in the fridge. And there's a lot of food here. So we'll put them down here. And I'm going to go ahead and get my saran wrap. And let's start with this one, this little guy right here. So I'll take this guy out. And again, I want to just clean my surface because this is the important part. So whenever you're going to do a little bit of rewrapping or working with the block itself, you want to make sure that your surface is really, really clean. And I don't mean just like clean, I mean like sterilize it, because you will lose that fruiting block. And if you're spending $30 for that fruiting block, you want to make sure that you get your money's worth out of it for the second or even third crop if you're dealing with oysters. So I just kind of like lay it on the table. Oops, a little rip there. And I'm going to go ahead and just double this over like that because there's a little bit of rip, and then double it back over. All right. Okay. Come to me. So this feels a little dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it. Now this guy has to go back into the fridge for about 48 hours. When it comes out of the fridge, I'm going to take it out of its cling wrap and I'm going to submerge it into a body of water and held down by something heavy like a cast iron skillet or something. And it needs to stay there for about 4 hours. Then once you're done soaking it, you can go ahead and put it back into a tray like these guys. I don't recommend using these black ones. I mean, you can, just don't put them in the dishwasher. I like a little more sturdy, but before you do, be sure that you sterilize this. You've got to clean everything with a little bit of alcohol. That's what I'm using here. So we're going to just go ahead and wrap this for now. But I know this guy's going to need a good 4 to probably 6 hours of soaking because it's so, so dry. And mushrooms need moisture. They need moisture. And you want to get this as tightly wrapped as possible. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Let me just get this bad boy out. Little random mushroom on the bottom. And as you can see, I'm literally I'm wrapping this guy, leaving this open. I'm going to close that in just a second. So I go around, I don't know, maybe 5-6 times. And then I start to close this because this is nice and thick now on each side. And now I'm going to go towards the ends. And this is where those rubber gloves come in because you don't really want to touch this with your bare hands. I have learned that the hard way, that when you do that, even if your hands are clean with soap and water, there's still contaminants on there and you will ruin your block by getting some mold. And once you start to see green spots or yellow spots, you might as well just toss the block out because at that point it's no good. No good. Shiitake is one of the only mushrooms that with the fruiting block, you take it out completely. The rest of them, pretty much, you can just rewrap them and then slice it on the side, the top, or the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead. All of my scissors and knives were pre-sterilized before I started. And there we go. So there's one block. So we'll put her down here and right there. So we'll go ahead. And again, I'm just going to do a little squirt because I worked with one block. So now I'm working with the other. Squirt. Nice and clean. And we're going to lay this one down. Hopefully it doesn't rip. Oh, it looks like it's doing pretty good. Gonna have to get some more cling wrap. I'm running out. All right, so what do we got over here? So as you can see, there's kind of a big divot, but don't worry about it. So this one feels a little bit moist compared to the other one. So regardless, you're still gonna have to soak it. to get that second crop. Feels kind of, with the gloves on, it feels kind of gooey, if you will, kind of a little bit of a goo. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this over, wrap that top. So I haven't done a mushroom video in a little while. So that's because we moved them, and I was just trying to get them settled in there and making sure that we were, back up and running in business getting mushrooms, because they're for like a hot second, probably 2 weeks, it got paused. So, okay, so now I'm going to turn this to the side. Go ahead and tuck this all in and tuck this side in. But yeah, they're really happy over there. So one of the blocks that I have, it's called Ricci, and it looks like reindeer antler. So that actually just started to kind of bloom a little bit. I've never had that before, so you don't really eat it. It's more like you take it and you soak it for tea, and it has a lot of really good properties to it. So it's part of the Norse 4 subscription that I get every 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know that I order it again because I like to eat my food, not drink it. And so here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Whoops. All right. And well, plastic ring is a beautiful thing. That's all I can say. All right. So now I have the 2 blocks, and they will go upstairs in my fridge because we're downstairs. And, just picking this one up, the weight difference between the two, this is so much drier. But again, it's a different company. I've never heard of them, but it's always fun to try a different company. Like maybe this would have been better. I don't know. Let's just see. Maybe this crop on the second one is better than this one. Who knows? But I ran into it. It was up in Wayland. So if you guys are up there, it's at a place called Russell's, and it's a winter inside farmer's market every Saturday. And it was so cool. I had like mushrooms, they had tons of pastries. They had people outside in kind of like food trucks. One of them was even like a meat food truck. I've never seen anything like it before, where you sign up kind of like as a share, and then you can go and they give you a tote bag full of different kinds of meat. So if you're really into that and you're up in that area, stop by, because I was like a great find. I was like so psyched to find another company just to try. Like I've never seen anybody other than the Norse Sport, and they're a wonderful company, but it's always good to have a backup when you can't get shiitakes, because these were sold out for a minute, but now they're back in stocks, and now I've got 2 different companies for one of my favorite mushrooms. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the videos that we've been doing. Thank you so much for the community's response and signing up. And please, down below, hit that button if you haven't already subscribed. If there's something specific that you're looking for, you have a question, comment below. And I'm going to be starting something really fun, probably in the next week or 2. I've got some time and I really want to dive into it, where I'm going to be doing either a podcast, I haven't decided, and or going live. So be sure to check out my posts, because I'm actually doing some posting in that little area up in the top where it says post. And that's where I'm going to be communicating with all of you in the community as to when I go live or a new podcast drops. So again, tap that button below, keep the community growing, and we'll see you very soon.